Hello, my name is Igor Tomych, and today I'm at Merchant Payment Ecosystem, and we're conducting interviews with the various stakeholders. And I'm pleased to introduce Viktoria Soltesz, that we will talk about the payment infrastructure, because that's a really important topic for the merchants. A lot of cases from our practice when the wrong decision has been made, and then they influence in the infrastructure and the costs of the financial infrastructure for the merchants. So the first question is pretty straightforward, I think. And what is the most expensive mistake that merchants make when they choose a PSP or the bank partner?
I think there are multiple layers to this question, because usually the cheaper is more expensive. You need to understand that you can't have your cake and eat it too. So if you're choosing the cheap payment provider, usually it bites you back in terms of technical problems, then the approval rates are not good or the customer service is horrendous. So there is always something to sacrifice. The second, however, which is less talked about, are the introducers, or the inception of the payment providers, as I call it. Many times we see that there is a gateway which is reselling a gateway, which is reselling a gateway, which is reselling an acquirer, and merchants don't even know about this. And this could be a very, very expensive mistake, simply because if you don't know how the whole payment ecosystem works and who is underlyingly reliant on someone else, then you might actually not optimizing for the worst case scenario. And that's what we see. If one payment provider is down, everybody is down. Why? Because there is a single acquiring bank at the end who is executing that. But also, when we're talking about introducers, you need to understand that no advice is free. So if you're asking your friend or anyone who recommends you a solution, a bank account, a payment provider solution for free, keep in mind that it can cost you 1 or even 2% of your volume for the lifetime, what you have to pay for that free advice. And that could be very expensive. So sometimes it's easier and cheaper to make a decision yourself. And it's obviously safer as well if you know that why you're making that decision.
So every time when you see something for free, you can assume that you are the product actually which is sold.
Yeah,
so,
they're always saying that there is only a free cheese in the mousetrap, right? So you need to understand nothing is for free.
That's definitely true. And the second question is about the payment orchestration, because the term is like has a buzz right now. Everyone is talking about orchestration this, orchestration that. But what actually it genuinely means for the merchant? Is it adding something value add for the merchant, or is it just another layer of the complexity?
Definitely, but you need to understand how to use these tools, right? So payment orchestration is not replacing the payment and banking strategy. You need to understand where the money is coming from, how much, how often, what currency, who is holding those funds, how that fund is then being transferred through the whole group of companies in between your companies or to your manufacturers, to your employees in form of payroll, to your shareholders. So how the fund is actually flowing through your organization. Payment orchestration is an amazing tool, but you need to understand its limitations and its place. You cannot replace an overall payment and banking strategy with payment orchestration, because then you're ignoring the risk, the user experience, the technology. Payment orchestration is great to orchestrate, but it does not replace the big picture, how you're fitting it into.
I have a saying that I really like: if you automate chaos, then you will get automated chaos. So
that's true. Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. So
true.
If we're talking about orchestration, you need to understand what actually is the nature and the blood as a financial instrument, and then have the technical instruments to apply to it. But another question that people a lot of asking is building resilient payment setup. As a merchant, I would like to make sure that my setup is working, there is no outages, there is no issues. What you would suggest to focus on? Is it fees, data ownership? Because there are a lot of angles to approach this matter.
That's the thing, that pick one organ that you can live without. Well, no, because you need everything to work together. And that's why it's very hard to say that whatever is good for your industry might be a total disaster for another industry. Whatever is good for travel, it's bad for e-commerce. Or whatever you're optimizing for fees, then you have to sacrifice on technology. So it is a multi-layer thing. It's the same thing as when you're going to the doctor, get an overall medical checkup by a professional who doesn't want to sell you any medicine, right? First of all. And then understand that what are the interdependencies in your organization? What are the best practices in your industry? And only then make a decision and make sure that whoever is recommending a solution for you is recommending it because it's the best for you and not necessarily because that's the one which brings them the most amount of commission.
That's true. We're all unique. And that's a good note to finish the interview. Thank you for coming and discussing with us all those matters. It's really great overview and thank you for doing that.
Thank you so much.